When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for the funny popcorn man to admit he was wrong about the silly Space Wars franchise, said popcorn man will admit his guilt. I, the worst critic, sexiest man in the galaxy, 3-foot-long cock flaccid, and overall ladies man was wrong about The Mandalorian. I thought that this show was going to be worse in Season 2. I thought they were going to become so complacent in their mediocrity because many people enjoyed the show, and there would be no reason to push the storytelling. I was clearly and unequivocally wrong, which of course is funny Thanos meme impossible because I am never wrong, but sadly, the funny Thanos meme impossible has happened. Honestly, I wasn't even going to watch Mandalorian Season 2. It just didn't interest me, and it seemed to be going the way of fan service and genre gimmick storytelling. Mandalorian Season 1 suffered so much from focusing on doing homages to different genres and stories instead of having one focused thread throughout. There was no reason to turn away from this. The show was way too popular to mess with the formula. My fate of not watching the show was sealed when I saw all the rumors surrounding all these fan-favorite characters they were gonna bring in. No judgment from me if you want to coom for some fan service or coom for some Star Wars. I'm personally a coomer for Warhammer. I swear on all that is holy, I will destroy every last one of these fucking rats if they mess with my precious thick lizard boy again. Truly, his girth and power cannot be fathomed. I can't get behind fan service in most cases because it's often for the detriment of the story and is generally just there so people can go, oh hey, I remember that. Again, nothing wrong if you like that. I only cast judgment on the Star Wars fans that draw art of pregnant General Hux. I'm a big believer in universal human rights, but this shit honestly makes me reconsider my position. So it's really ironic that the one thing that got me into watching Mandalorian Season 2 was what I perceived to be fan service. My friend Chris told me that the newest Mando episode had Ahsoka in it, and my curiosity was slightly raised. I haven't seen Clone Wars or Rebels, but I'm vaguely familiar with the character, and I was interested to see if this episode was gonna be maximum RLM nerd crew I remember that bullshit. Weirdly enough, it wasn't. The dialogue was mildly interesting, the character was used well, and the little side quest that happened served the story in a meaningful way. This is a far cry from Mando Season 1 where maybe 1/4 of the episodes actually contributed to the plot and the rest left no meaningful mark on my memory as they were all cheap imitations of classic setups. Mandalorian Season 2 is an improvement in every single way, the most important of which is that every episode actually serves an interesting plot thread that connects the whole show. Mando is trying to get the little cucumber baby to a Jedi. No longer are we running from bounty hunters or digging around on some random forest planet while I stare at Gina Carano's arms. Trust me, I can fix her, dude. Now we are trying to find Mandalorians, trying to find people who know Jedi, and, most importantly, trying to develop an interesting plot which can grow the characters in a connected way. Mandalorian needed a strong central thread, and it got one. With this thread, characters now feel as if they have more agency and more purpose. We now as an audience get to look at the show from the perspective of the main plot. How does Bo-Katan relate to the main story? How does Boba relate? How does Jin relate? Etc. We are finally telling a story, and it's a story I found myself gripped by. Having a show where episodes aren't related to the plot isn't a bad thing. You can see this sort of thing in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4. Difference is, in that show, there is a core cast of characters that are present in these episodes. Jin is simply not compelling or dynamic enough to carry a show by himself. He needs these other characters to improve his own development and make the show more interesting. He also needs these characters to appear more than once and not just fuck off right away. Giving Mandalorian a focused plotline, having the characters around more, honestly made the show more enjoyable for me. It meant that Jin could have a slower arc and have it be more engaging. Having a focused narrative was a fantastic decision by Jon Favreau from Jon Favreau's Chef. One of the biggest issues I found with The Mandalorian that I didn't talk about in my original review was the lack of intimacy. The best Star Wars moments are close, personal, clever, and never too large in scale. One of my favorites is the hallway conversation on Hoth between Leia and Han. So much character being developed in such a short scene, and it takes place in a fucking small hallway with people trying to slide by them. In a massive galaxy with aliens galore, vibrant settings, and epic space battles, one of my favorite scenes is a stupid fucking hallway conversation between two normal-ass humans. There is something poetic about finding intimacy and quiet power in a vast galaxy. I love the twin suns scene, all the stuff with Yoda, the I love you, I know moment, Luke confronting his temptation to the dark side. All these moments are powerful and intimate. Outside of the cool action scenes, the fantastic set design, and the gnarly score, you know what sticks with me after watching Mandalorian Season 2? An ex-Empire soldier being forced to confront the grim reality faced while under their command, and can no longer tolerate it. Bill Burr genuinely gives one of the best performances in all of Star Wars in the past 10 years, in a short little scene inside a mess hall, with a character we spent 2 fucking episodes with. Watching this little chess match of sorts between Bill and this British-looking fellow was honestly great. I love watching Bill trying to contain his emotions and seeing this whirlwind gradually stir inside him. The very next episode, the cold open, we get a scene about a survivor from a people that has been genocided and is confronted with the individual who actively supported the deed, which wiped out her people and taunts her with that information. Gina Carano gives a terrible performance throughout Mando Season 2. She is honestly straight up bad and terribly written. But this one scene, it's fucking powerful. We finally get to see some humanity behind this character who just says funny quips and we really don't know much about besides she was a rebellion dropper. I would love for her to drop her rumper onto my balls, but in media, characters need to have more than that. They need layers, and the scene fixes that issue. Intimacy, heart, emotions, those are the things I look for when I'm watching film or television. I could care less for some epic cinematography or a logically sound plot. It's great if a piece of media has those things, but my love of media is driven by us, the human element. There is more humanity in these 2 scenes than in all of the first season of Mandalorian. But it's not enough. I'm glad they're taking steps in the right direction, but having 2 moments over the course of 8 episodes is a little sad. Again, I'm glad we are at least getting some meat, but now that I've been tempted with some chops, I want the whole lamb. But it's not enough. With some lamb, you'd obviously want some veggies so you can become a big, strong boy. Perhaps a salad would be a good side dish. The most popular of which is a nice Olive Garden mixed salad sponsored by the Sonic movie, which I loved. I loved it, guys. Can we please be friends now? A mixed salad from Olive Garden is great. You get to see all of your favorite players in it. We got classic lettuce, some bomb cherry tomatoes, how about some fantastic croutons, and of course those delicious peppers that get me very, very horny. Now let's imagine that you are eating a cherry tomato and you notice it just has a bit of poop on it. I mean, the whole thing isn't covered in poop, but it's got fucking poop on it, man. I mean, yeah, I'll eat it, but it's gonna sour the taste of the previous bites. This long-winded analogy all leads to how bad fan service can nearly ruin a good salad that you've crafted because Peyton Reed couldn't make it to the toilet in time. Is the Luke Skywalker scene Peyton Reed's fault? Probably not. Do I want to rub his bald head until it literally catches on fire? Yes. I already know I'm in the minority because everyone was creaming their jeans on Twitter when this happened, but I'm not going to lie about my feelings and I never will. I think the Luke section of the finale was hot garbage. Genuinely terrible. I'm not exaggerating either. Let's first analyze this from a storytelling vacuum. Let's imagine that Mandalorian is a standalone show and Star Wars does not exist outside the show. The show introduces these characters like Bo-Katan, Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, and we don't know anything about them besides what's presented in the show. Again, this is a hypothetical vacuum. They are interesting, they are dynamic, they change throughout the episodes, they are good characters that actively add in a positive way to the story. This is how you should do fan service. Characters should always be given value within a show and not given value based off the things they were previously in. Now let's imagine for a moment if some dude dressed as Fred Flintstone who had never appeared in the show prior came in to save Daredevil during his final confrontation with Kingpin in Daredevil Season 3. We'd be rightfully pissed, also very confused, like I would have an insane amount of questions. Most importantly, why is Fred Flintstone so invested in this fight? What the fuck did Kingpin do to this absolute barbarian to get him so angry? This is honestly what it's like for me when I'm watching Luke smash through droids. I love Luke, but I was so baffled as to why he's bailing out our characters who I wanted to see come up with a clever solution or use teamwork to defeat this fantastically established threat. It cuts out all the tension of the scene, it ruins all dramatic buildup, and it's frankly the funny literary term Deus Ex Machina. Deus Ex Machina is basically an unexpected person or thing saving your protagonist from a dire encounter. This is the Luke scene, plain and simple. I've tried to find a way to like this scene, but it's a bailout. It doesn't even work outside of a vacuum because Luke here is cold and robotic. He just doesn't feel like himself. His presence and energy ruins a superb moment from Pedro Pascal with Baby Yoda. Luke gains nothing character-wise from being here. The only thing we learn here is that he is now training Jedi, which, if we are analyzing outside of a vacuum now, we already fucking know that happens because of The Last Jedi. Holy shit, it just doesn't work in a vacuum with context on a boat, in a train, or on a stupid shit-ass plane. It sucks because I was loving Mando Season 2 up to this point, and the final bite of my salad is a poopy cherry tomato. This doesn't mean the other quote-unquote fan service is bad though. It's actually really fucking good. I think Bo-Katan is interesting and services the plot in a unique way, and I'm saying this as someone who hadn't heard of this hot mommy until I had seen the show. As I said before, I enjoyed Ahsoka Tano. She's done in a way I didn't find offensive and actually enjoyed. Apparently Cobb Vanth is a character people are familiar with, and he's fucking great. Please give Cobb his own series where he saves his small little village from threats in the Boba armor. I want to kiss Timmy Oliphant on the cheeks so much. And lastly, Boba Fett, maybe the single most interesting side character in The Mandalorian. Maybe the most interesting character, period. Boba is so cool from a writer's perspective because I actually gain a lot of my enjoyment from his character because I've seen him in the movies. The writers actually used what we saw from the previous movies and added on to that. Almost like how you should handle an actual character. I don't know, revolutionary concept I guess. Yes, I'm still salty about the Luke scene, and no, I don't want my juice box, Mom. I'm not thirsty. Boba has grown so much since we last seen him. He's become more brutal, clever, and not whatever the fuck this shit is. Boba's success is so interesting because the writers are working on a weak foundation and building a beautiful tower out of this little dirt hovel. Boba was not much of a character in the films, but tying him back to his father, having him bound to a code of honor, giving him conflict with the Mandalorian, showing his brutality and anger that is developed after almost being eaten by a giant sand vagina, making him more alert and aware, these all show so much development for a glorified Darth Maul with a jetpack. After this show, I genuinely love Boba now, and you could tell the writers loved this character and wanted to make him better. Despite the cherry shitado, I still overall enjoyed this season much better, and I think I'd be okay with calling it good. This was a good season of Mandalorian. Real quickly before we end, I'll talk briefly about some other aspects of Mando because virgins get mad if I don't comment on everything in the show for some reason. The music is still great, especially Boba Fett's theme. That thing makes me want to become Attila the Hun and ransack a mall. The set design is fantastic as always, the visuals pop, the color choice is great. There's honestly no Star Wars movie or show outside the prequels and shit-ass Solo that doesn't have fantastic visuals. Solo only because you can't see anything, and the prequels because George thought it would be funny to render his CGI using a Nintendo 64. All of the action is very well done, especially the stuff done by Robert Rodriguez. I don't understand him as a filmmaker, I never will, but he does a great job with the Boba episode. Lastly, I don't consider this a major issue, more just confusion, but where the fuck did that third member of Bo's Cool Kid Squad go? I swear there was a guy and he just said understandable, have a great day, and then popped out. That's all I have for Mandalorian Season 2. It's a strong 7 out of 10. Would have been an 8 if Luke didn't stare into the camera during the last 5 minutes of Mando and say the nuclear launch codes for our silos in Wyoming. Bold decision by Jon Favreau, but didn't quite work for me.